begin casually with an opening reader. The reader is our very own MFAer, Brit Washburn, who will happen to have a book launch tomorrow for her latest collection, What is Giving. That book launch will be at 7 p.m., so if you're not tired of poetry after tonight, you're welcome to head out to Blacksburg Books, where she'll be in conversation with another poet and writer, Ed Falco, also former professor here at Tech. So without further ado, I will welcome Brit Washburn and a special featured guest, Mara, to the stage. Everyone please give them a warm welcome.
Thank you, Sophia, and thank you all for being here. We're so grateful to be opening for Sophia, and in honor of Tetra Nova, we have 4 poems to share. The first is Cadmium. In the backyard, forsythia blooming, though I've not set foot there in weeks. Showering, I see them through the bedroom window, a shower of yellow, the color of a favorite dress my daughter wears, and wearing makes me aware she will outgrow it soon. The color, too, of popcorn orchids at Oku, that Japanese curry house we went to a few times in Honolulu many moons ago, and of the happiness soup I used to make and then stopped making with the glut of summer squash in Charleston, the golden discs like so many infant suns, my sons would not so much as touch. Out walking in the sun, dogwood blossoms, daffodils, dandelions and violets dotting the neighbors' lawns, azaleas, crocuses, the list goes on and on. But just now, it is the forsythia that strikes me like a Zen master's lash. Notice this before it's gone. Walking. The sky, a mottled gray, cold, light rain, and it seemed later than it was, almost dark. The blossoms, redbud, dogwood, ragwort, brighter by contrast, brighter than when bathed in morning light. For the first time that day, I paused, breathed the ozone, green growing things, and in that moment, I was no longer over living. I walked on in a fog, unsure where I was going, one foot in front of the other until I'd almost come full circle. Then came a break in the clouds. Behind me, yet I could see everything illuminated, and turned around to glimpse the sun sending down shafts like a ladder out just before setting. Hikmet wrote, "We must live as if we will never die. 2, we must do whatever it is that makes us not want to." Nevertheless, in a yard bordered by bamboo and cypress, a red picket fence, on a street just off a busier street that separates her mom's house from her dad's, in a town surrounded by mountains and rivers without end, in a country divided by mountains and rivers and fear, on a planet nearing extinction, half burning, half drowning by turns, roamed a little girl, rubbing mint between her fingertips, deadheading the geraniums, watering the last of the peppers and tomatoes, though she knew it was late in the season and soon they would be through. Sweeping the porch, though more leaves would fall, the mortar between the bricks continued to crumble and crumble to dust. Nevertheless, she somehow felt she must. And this will be the last small comfort after Koepplin. Tea and books in a warm bed, rumpled linens soft from wear, both cats purring, settling in. Too soon to despair of this life entirely. Entirely too soon to be certain I will never solve the puzzle just because I haven't yet. Attempting for decades and still not able to make ends meet. Still spending my days in ways I'd rather not. Still wondering what is wrong with me, that it should be this difficult, this tempting to give up, get out. But oh, these mornings, few and far between though they may be, the small comfort they bring. Let the woman in labor, the man with the chainsaw cutting his 1000th tree, the child refugee fleeing she knows not what to she knows not where. Oh, let them, too, lie here in the lamp's glow. Let them know it has not all been, will not all be for naught.
Please give our snaps and applause one more time. Thank you. It was wonderful. I know Mara was nervous about this. I am too still, but Mara, you did fabulous. Welcome you all. Welcome. Very grateful that you're here today. I will begin with some acknowledgments because I am really astounded that I get to be here with you all today. You can see my acknowledgments list is long. I won't bore you, I promise. I'll try to keep it short. I really want to thank the Moss Center, first of all, for hosting me, all the production staff, the people who are here today, people who aren't here. Really, thank you. This is a gift and a privilege for you to let me be in this space, to share my art with you. I'm truly grateful. This production also wouldn't be possible without the English department, specifically Kelly and Matthew, my boss man boss. Thank you. When I came to Matthew, I said, Matthew, I think I want to reach out to the Moss about doing something there. And Matthew just said, do it. So I did it. So I really am so astounded that I get support from the department and my advocates. I'm really grateful. So thank you for supporting me every step of the way. I also want to thank the Roanoke Ballet Theater, who we will be accustomed with today. Specifically, my choreographer, Carolin, is back there. Carolin Koepplin. She approached me last fall and just said, I want to work with you. And I said, let's make it happen. And we just became instant friends. It was magical. We had no agenda. We just wanted to work together. We didn't know what that was going to look like, and we knew that what united us was the concept of love. And so this performance today is ultimately about love. So from my heart to yours, I really adore you, Carolin. So thank you for being here. I also want to acknowledge that amongst the 7 ballerinas, there's another ballerina named Antonia Dougherty, and she is a performance artist, and she'll be a collaborator of mine. I also would remiss if I didn't thank Charlie Carolin's partner. Charlie has been our support system, emotional support system. He's been the one who's kept us all afloat, so thank you, Charlie, really. It's not overlooked. I also want to acknowledge that today is April 16th. It's not lost on me that we are in constant ongoing crises of loss, of death, of confusion, of fear, of grief. And so I do want to acknowledge the 32 people that we have lost in 2007. I also want to acknowledge that 50 years ago was what is called in the West as the fall of Saigon. My mother left shortly after that, and some of her family didn't make it out. And this performance is also for my mother, and it's to acknowledge my ancestors who came before me. And then finally, I do want to thank the students and the friends for being here today. I often joke that, so before I came to tech, I was a live streamer. That's how I made my money. People, don't ask me questions about it, but people paid me money to just do things on the live stream. And so I was performing a lot, and I would do all these bits for them. And one day, I was told about a job at Virginia Tech. A professor job opened up, and I said, haha, what a funny bit. And so I decided to apply as part of the live streaming story, the art. But little did I know that I would get the job. And so I got the job, and which has been very silly for me because I realized it was a bit from the very beginning. That was the whole gag. And so I've been in the longest durational performance art in my life. It hasn't stopped. It's my 3rd year here, and I am still going. So I really appreciate you all for really sticking it out with me as I've been insufferable in my performance art with you all. I think that's about it. So I want to thank the people in this room, the people who have brought me here. I'll introduce myself because I haven't introduced myself properly. My name is Sophia Emi Terazawa. I've written some books allegedly, but I don't really care about the books. What I care about is peace, and I care about love, and I care about your heart, and I care about my heart. What you're about to see today, yes, it will be beautiful to a large extent. There will be ballerinas. It will be divided into 2 acts. The first act will feature the ballerinas. The second act will feature a durational art performance featuring me and Antonia. What I want to say is, I don't want to preface it too much, but what I do want to say is that ultimately my work is not a fiction, it's the very real world that we are in today. I don't want to change your beliefs. I don't want to tell you what to think, but I do want to access your heart, whatever way you let me access your heart. So there will be moments in which you might encounter difficult emotion, you might hear something that disturbs you, you might even witness something in your mind or your heart that bothers you, that upsets you, that even angers you. And I want you to know that that feeling is okay, and that I'm here to respect whatever you have to feel in this space. So with that being said, I would like to welcome us now to Tetra Nova. But before we get started, you're here and I'm here, so it's an even exchange. A lot of my work doesn't go into a solitary container. I require the audience, I require your hearts. So the only way for me to know that you are here with me is I need some audience participation. Are we aware of the concept of the audience participation? Yes! Yes, okay, very good, okay. It's quite simple, don't worry, I know we're not all performance artists here, so I will teach you the introductory concept of being a performance artist. 1, you must just react. That's it. React. Okay, all right, okay, y'all are stunned, you're like, ugh. Okay, so I'm gonna give you a prompt. All right, when I tell you to gasp, I would like you to gasp. Gasp. Oh, good! Excellent. Okay, so here I'm going to give you some other tips on how you can gasp. There's different kinds of gasps, right? There's a horrified gasp. Everyone horrified gasp. There's a scandalized gasp where you're clutching your pearls. Everyone clutch your pearls. Okay, there's a kind of gasp where you're about to fall in love with somebody, so you can touch your face, you can touch your chest, all right, and you fall into love. Gasp. Excellent. Okay. So now we are all performance artists. Very good. All right. Thank you. And the lights, please. Once more. Thank you. Thank you. All right. We belong to numbers, dates, statisticians, and lizards hanging by their tails from thick telephone wire. Beyond this last image, along with the pyres, we have nothing else to show for our survival. The performer is on stage. This is true of time. It is also true of pain. We think we have waited too long, and then we wait for 7 days. It rained on the day we left our country for asylum. Gasp! The performer has stopped to raise a hand. In the back of the cube, a neon sign is mounted to the wall and flickers in bright pink cursive. Be not afraid. In a rooted voice, the performer says, "It took us weeks to arrive on that island. The audience in the cube is sitting next to each other in quiet patience. Outside Blacksburg on Turner Street, a motorbike prompts the performers to pause. A hand is lowered toward Anna, steadying itself in the air. A foot presses lightly against the floor. A separate voice returns after a few moments. In the beginning, it was like a dream. We had food to eat. Clean water came plenty. Nobody went cold with the night's ocean wind. For the first time in months, children and animals would play together. All four elements unite us. The performer scans the audience. At the front are some students in a nice blue jeans and a striped shirt. Isaac, in the middle, is holding up a camera. He may or may not take photos, and that's okay. He's here for a class project. It was like a dream, repeats the performer. Dark curtains behind the stage faintly ripple as though something rushes nearby. A sense of warmth lowers into the room with a cluster of lighting fixtures that cast amber shadows along the floor. Don't worry, the performance is almost over. Down the corridor, through an entryway at the farthest wall, a quiet group of dancers are just now squeezing their way into the room. But, like most illusions, it hid the true name of our future as it did our past. One day, a few boats came with cameras. We stood on the shore, waving our arms like this. The performer has just made a wild gesture in the air. Come here, we said. The 7 dancers are slowly approaching the stage. The performer takes time to nod at the dancers. But what they said was they wanted stories from the old country. Could it be done? Say no.
No.
Yeah. Very good. But like any dream, beauty was possible. So we started with an elephant, but they didn't want an elephant. Gasp! We talked about an American family going to the market, looking at fruit, but they didn't want that either. Gasp! Very good. What else could we do? So we thought, well, maybe the best thing for everyone is a movie. We decide right then, over a matter of days, who would play what parts, and most importantly, what everyone would wear. It was very, very exciting. Someone will soon sit on the floor with a thump. There's a script for an assassin and Roman gods, says the performer, hand waving. Romance in a tiny stuffed animal, interstellar travel. The audience is looking at the stage. The performer, after thinking for a split second, changes direction. So when I say mellow, you say drama. Mellow.
Drama.
Mellow.
Drama.
Excellent. The performer has just shouted something else. The stage is dark. On a narrow swing, seated, and then lowered 1/3 of the way down from the rafters to the floor, is the outline of a small circle with 2 pointy ears. A spotlight snaps over it. Gasp! The thing is dainty with eyes closed. Under the body is a pair of dancer's feet. The round shape is entirely naked. Bubblegum pink. An audible gasp erupts from the audience. Someone murmurs in the back. Around the room, a chorus of lizards pops onto floating shelves in cabinets high above our heads. Every lizard wears a tutu unique to its body type and preference. The spotted whiptail, for instance, has cream and rust orange embroidery squares that cover nearly half of its skirt. The spiny lizard with an upturned snout and brawny neck poses in flashy teal frills. The chorus of lizards multiplying around our room begins to hum in slow harmony to the start of a, you guessed it, Celine Dion song. A single voice steps forward into another spotlight. The lizard is shaking. Its angelic voice arises from the throat of an olive slink, beginning with a line about nightly dreams. The lizard is trembling more violently. I see you. I feel you. The other lizards join in. This is your cue. That is how I know you. Go on. In the audience, I can't help but sob into my shirt sleeve and think, at precisely 7:20 a.m. on May 16, 1967, Nachimai, a school teacher, a Buddhist nun, at age 33, sets herself on fire in District 10 of Saigon. Moments before, she had penned a letter to the U.S. government. She offered, she said, her body as a torch to dissipate the dark. From this darkness, space envelops us. The Western version, perhaps, prefers a steady plot, something to stake us to, catching sparks around the corner. But regardez s'il vous plaît. In mere seconds, chairs and liquid combust. A tree is wedged in the back in the courtyard of that cube. Nobody will scream. Nobody will scramble for the exits marked in red. Celine Dion. Your chairs remain firmly nailed to the ground. In the performance, we stay rooted to the stage with all 7 of our names. The lizards cling to each other more tightly. I'm kneeling by a stack of books in a library. We need time, I think. More time. The voices emerge. We need time. We need time to awaken peace among humanity. We sweep the ground of ash. We sweep our hands against the fabric of our shirt and skirts. The Western version of this story sweeps the melody away to give the silence meaning. At karaoke, we thumb through a binder of song titles. We pick the ones we recognize. There's Norman Morrison, at age 31, a Quaker from Baltimore. He, too, self-immolated. In front of his daughter at the Pentagon. What he could not prove, though he believed somehow, perhaps, admits an American journalist, Paul Hendrickson, was that this act of grief made a fire in the garden of this country. What we noticed in response was our father going up in flames a year after that in Saigon. In response, a year later, Nhat Chi Mai would also set herself on fire. The three torches are lighting a fire in the garden among us. My mother, she has prepared me for this moment. She says, "You see a body burn. You run to it and you pray." She was cutting up an apple without looking at her hands. The knife fell through. I watched the thing glide into her palm like a thread of silver smoke. Beyond this, the acting Secretary of Defense, Robert McNamara, recalled later how he was horrified by that Quaker, Norman Morrison. Time went on. There have been other fires in the garden. In a farewell note to her mentor, Thich Nhat Hanh, the nun Nhat Chi Mai wrote as if to appease all of our worries. "Do not worry, my teacher. We will have peace soon. We just need time." After this, my mother left Vietnam. When I hear her stories today, she claims that we died on that passage with our memories of fire. I asked to clarify this story in simple terms, but she avoids it. Her smile breaks into 1,000 little pieces. But anyway, she says, "You see a body burn, and you run to it, and you pray. That is all I wish to say." You may gasp. Near the temple chamber, to my heart, I wrote a list of facts and then a list of plums. One spoke as if in conversation with another. One, a calf reached for my hand. I took its trunk in delirium, cradling this thing like some lost part of me had finally returned. No, I was mistaken. The mother blared at once, soaring up on her hind legs. Her eyes shot ablaze, her trunk stiffened into a hook, charging like a fireball my way. Two, when I came to, after an immeasurable dip across time, I sensed the elephant had left long ago. Under my body, the ground had molded into a tray. I blinked. Shadowy trees shifted around, warping their shapes. Tamarind or copper pot. The back of my skull felt magnetized, though soft, padded. Three. At first, I could only turn my head a bit to the right, and then in total concentration, slowly, painfully to the front again. Heat rippled through me. My neck had sunk, as if into a pothole just below my shoulders. I'd lost my elbows. I had no more fingers or ankles. Gone too were my kneecaps. 4. My ears then seemed to have shriveled and traveled up the sides of my face. I could still wiggle both, but alarmingly they were fixed atop my head. It was dark. I found a way to stand upright by flopping onto my buttocks. I wobbled a step or two forward, trying to recall where I was initially going. 5. Not before too long, looming in front of me was the entrance to what appeared to drop into a cavern, square-shaped, like the kanji for mouth. From inside, perhaps ascending a flight of stairs with their 4 paper lanterns, a dull force drew me closer and closer until I fell straight through. In here, I write the last letter. You paid no mind to Roanoke. Nature was a gust sent northward. Well, what I mean is, somewhere the drive came to an end. Off on your side, suffered a path I couldn't follow. What did you want? The one deserving part? Before, my notebooks wrinkled well. I made a bed, then lied in it. There was a movie about bailing. What did I want from the garden, which had been a door once? And what more could I know? You would become kinder next year. You would be led by foot through the meadowlands home. I might be there if the winds love you back. I could be their wife. I suppose it's time. My friends have been kind. I've considered burning this book, along with your letters. The plushie, well, we'll have to go to Goodwill. The air conditioner, maybe I'll keep it, I don't know. I've also considered texting you about the garage door opener. But it's unbearable. Here it is, in the mail. My friend Ryan suggested I use it every morning, stopping by your house and rearranging the furniture. It made me laugh when he suggested this. Stone-faced. I wasn't angry then, at least anymore. But for a while I was. Angry, disappointed, mournful, empathetic, with the way that everything ended like a drive-by and me tumbling out the passenger side kaput. I was numb and sad. Then Callisto got angry about it, and then my mom. I felt abandoned but didn't know how to name my distress because I was just thinking about the girls and you. So the anger came, and I quit my job. Finally, Tuesday is my last day, and I'm going to write. That's all. That's my secret world for now. Enough to keep you in, and enough to keep you out. I have to protect my heart, because it's soft, and craves love and touch and domestic bliss, but it doesn't speak in the language that you speak. I know that now, reading through your words. Oh, Nina Simone had begged too. Don't misunderstand this now. I was happy, you know, for those months, trying to understand you, trying to help you understand me, and feeling the air taken out by my inadequacy to speak, especially when you went dark and started to shut me out. It was like I was on the other side of it, muffled and gesturing wildly, but no words except poetry came. When I wrote that poem on your porch while N and J played, especially Jay, who helped in the writing of it, I was sad because the poem indicates a foretelling. As soon as you, the beloved, enters a poem, it signals the crumbling of a relationship. You started playing the keyboard inside. I wanted to die. But I didn't say enough. So I occupied my body with sweeping the acorns so Pearl wouldn't get to them. That kept me alive somehow until I thought, well, oh no, here it comes. You have to know I tried, like a trick pilot who keeps from passing out while doing a barrel roll in the air. You didn't see me bursting and screaming with joy, shrieking up and down the car with Callisto and Isaac as I pointed out every spot. This was where we kissed. And this is the photo of the sloth in the zoo and on the merry-go-round where I was so nervous about vomiting in front of Jay. But at home I wept on the phone with my mom about how this was it. I'm going to marry this man. And I'm going to have a family. But I wasn't going to say that on your bed on that night. Those words escaped just barely my lips. I didn't know if you could hear them or not. I was going to marry you one day. And that was kept quiet up until the last night we were together. My boss sent me a box of wooden succulents the day after you called to break up with me. I didn't cry for a week. The game is simple. There are 7 standard geometric pieces, or tetras, comprised of 4 squares each, configured into predetermined shapes that fit ultimately with one another. This depends, however, on the ordering of each shape being presented in a game, and the artist has moved to the farthest corner of the room. What has no breath. It has a chest. The chest rising up and down, as if to breathe. What knows where to push, but cannot pull. Once possessed a spine, is the color of cinnamon. Don't condemn me, please, Anne. Norman Morrison had written those words to his wife when he left for the Pentagon. For weeks and months, the man prayed to see what he should do. But one morning, with no warning, he was shown. And the moons of Neptune glimmered. It had no eyes. He was a father who set himself on fire that second day of November, 1965. And the whole world was watching. Dear, dearest Anne, he would say, don't condemn me. The room is quiet. Performer looks into her book. There's more. What has no fear, no nationality, no flag to identify with, or a faith, a desire to read, but books strewn everywhere. What has a journey but no arrival? The bereaved Anne Morrison Welsh, who recalls the arrow which shot from Norman Morrison's heart, who is broken from a war, and shot, therefore, an arrow which sailed across thousands of miles to pierce the heart of a people in a way that love pierces your heart. Together, they had an 11-month-old daughter. Her name was Emily. Norman would bring her to the Pentagon, set her aside, and stood at the window below McNamara's office. Norman then doused himself in kerosene. The performer looks into her book. She recites the rest of this riddle. The poet Tohu would later make a song for that great heart which flew from the horizon all the way from America like a lamp of justice. How could this be possible? To have a face of sorrow but no way of dreaming, speaking too loud, to have monographs of grassy hills or long, dusty roads, the color of a man on fire, the subject of hatred and patterns tearing at a planet of everything gentle. What has a name that when read in the wrong language becomes another way of saying mercy. You know this word. You know this, but you don't want to say it, but you must say it. Mercy. Mercy. Say it! Mercy!
Mercy.
Mercy. I'm not done. What has a backyard? Questions around plot and subjectivity. What knows how to bathe can stare directly at an angry sun, has written some novel. But not once do I think about hating the men who've ordered them to do such a thing? What strips you of a soul? What is, by the age of 31, that Quaker from Baltimore setting down his child just far enough, but close enough to watch? He is drenching his body more with kerosene. What has a wrong ending to a place called Milai? You have to write it now, for someone else has written from the perspective of the soldiers. They're not our people. What has a martyrdom of the weight of pebbles thrown into lakes? The confession of Scott Camille, U.S. 1st Marine Division. And here it is. When we got up to her, she was asking for water. And the lieutenant said to kill her. So her clothes, they stabbed her in both, they spread and shut up. And she was still asking for water. And then they took that out. And then she was shot. And she was still asking for water. And she was still asking for water. And she was still asking for water. She was still asking for water.
Still asking for water. And she was still
asking for water.
And she was still asking for water.
She was still asking for water. should stay, I would only be your way. So I'll go, but I know I'll think of you every step of the way. And I will always love you, my darling, you. Bittersweet memories, that is all I'm taking with me. So goodbye, please. Don't cry, we both know I'm not what you need, and will always love you, always love you. We are done. Enjoy the rest of your evening. We will be out joining you shortly. Good night, everybody.